press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.
Namaste children. Let us start with a new chapter, structural organization in animals. So we know that in animal kingdom we studied that how the unicellular organisms are evolved into multicellular organisms. So in the phylum Porifera we saw the aggregation of cells, and in phylum Coelenterate we saw the formation of tissue. In the phylum Coelenterate we saw the formation of tissues. Like that, in phylum Platyhelminthes organ formation started, then that led to the organ system, then organisms. Understood? So in the unicellular organisms, the single cell will perform all the functions like digestion, respiration, excretion, etc. In a single cell, unicellular cells, it is a unicellular cell which this unicellular cell performs all the necessary functions for the survival, that is digestion, respiration, excretion, all function is done by the single cell itself. Whereas in multicellular organisms, as the organism size is also large, there are specific organs performing specific functions. Understood? So, multicellular organism, we will study today about the tissues which helps in the formation of organs, and that helps in the formation of organism. So, we know that atoms forms molecules. From the molecules we get cells, unicellular cells, and these cells when grouped together they form a tissues, and similar tissues performing a similar function forms organ, and organ form organ systems, and in our body many organ systems are there like respiratory system, digestive system, reproductive system, excretory system, doing their particular function that helps in the formation of organism and also survival of organism. Understood? So, today in this chapter we are going to discuss animal tissue. So, before going to that, the word tissue was given by, the word animal tissue was given by Chat. It is given by Chat, and study about tissue is called histology. Study about tissue is called histology, and Chat is also considered as father of histology. Chat is also considered as father of histology. Study about tissue is called histology. Logy means study. Understood? So then how are we going to define a tissue? So tissues are group of cells with the intercellular substances performing a common function, that is called as tissue. So tissue is a group of similar cells, with intercellular substances performing common function. So tissue is nothing but group of similar cells with intercellular. Intercellular means between the cells. Between the cells we see a substance that is called intercellular substances. So group of similar cells with intercellular substances performing a common function is called tissues. Understood? In this class we are going to discuss animal tissues. So, in the multicellular organisms, the cells will take different shape based on their function. Based on their function, the structure of cell is going to vary. Animal tissues are broadly classified into 4 types. So, one is epithelial tissue, another one is connective tissue, muscular tissue, and nervous tissue. So, animal tissue, 2 marks, classify animal tissues. So, animal tissues are broadly classified into 4 types. One is epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue and nervous tissue. So, epithelial tissue function is covering and protection. Whereas connective tissue, it supports body and connects structures and connects different structures and helps in transport of substances in a body. Whereas muscular tissue mainly it helps in contraction and locomotion. Whereas nervous tissue, it generates and conducts nerve impulses in a body. Understood? So, under animal tissue, we have 4 types of tissues. What's the function of epithelial tissue? Its main function is covering the body or covering of organs. So, by doing that, it helps in protection of our body. So, covering and protection is the main function of epithelial tissue. And connective tissue, it supports body and connects different structures in a body and helps in transport of substances in body like blood. Blood is a fluid connective tissue. And muscular tissue mainly helps in contraction and also it helps in locomotion. A nervous tissue generates and conducts nerve impulse. That nerve impulse is going to transfer message from one organ to another organ to do their function normally. So, these all 4 different tissues, by doing their functions, by doing their specific functions, helps in the survival of an organism. So, today we will discuss about epithelial tissue. In this 4, we will discuss about epithelial tissue. Epithelial tissue. Epi means upon, thelia means generate or growth. epithelial tissue, it is going to originate during embryonic development. It is going to develop. It originates during embryonic development. Embryonic development means inside the uterus when organogenesis occurs. So it is going to develop during embryogenesis, and the tissue has regenerative capacity. It has regenerative skin is a epithelial tissue. If any peel of skin peel occurs, ಚರ್ಮ ಏನಾದರೂ ಹೋಯಿತು ಅಂದರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, after few days new skin is going to be formed. That is, epithelial tissue has regenerative capacity. It is having regenerative capacity, and it is the tissue. Epithelial tissue is the only tissue which is going to be originated from all the three primordial layers or germinal layers. All the three germinal layers, that is epidermal layer, mesodermal layer, and also endodermal layer. So the epithelial tissue is going to be formed by all the three germinal layers. They are germinal layers. So from the epidermal layer we see the formation of epidermis, that is skin. So example for this is stratified squamous epithelium. Stratified means many layers. Mesodermal, we have mesothelium, that is simple squamous epithelium. So simple means when cells are arranged in single layer, it is called simple. Stratified means cells are arranged in many layers. Then from endothelium we have endodermal layer, we have endothelium, that is simple columnar epithelium seen in intestine. Understood? So epithelial, epi means upon, thelia means generate or growth. So it is having a regenerative capacity. It is going to develop or originate during embryonic period or during embryonic development. It's the tissue, it is the all. We have epithelial tissue, muscular tissue, connective tissue, nervous tissue. Among the four, it's the only one tissue which generates from three germinal layers. So for epidermal layer give rise to epidermis, mesodermal layer give rise to mesothelium, and endodermal layer give rise to endothelium. Understood? And this epidermis is having free surface. That free surface may either face surrounding environment or internally it face body fluids. So epithelial surface is having free surface. That free surface will either face towards the external environment or body fluids inside the body. By that it mainly helps in covering and also lining of some organs in our body. By doing that it gives protection to our body. So let us move with a classification of epithelial tissue. So in competitive they will ask epithelial tissue is originated from which germinal layer? It is going to originate from all the three germinal layers, ectoderm, mesoderm and endoderm. derm. Epithelial tissue, based on the modification, it is classified into two types mainly, and also based on number of layers: simple epithelium and compound epithelium. Simple epithelium means we see single layer of cells. Single layer of cells. Compound epithelium means two or more layer of cells. So simple epithelium means single layer of cells lie above the basement membrane. This is a basement membrane. Above the basement membrane we see the single layer of cell. This is simple epithelium. Compound epithelium is this is a basement membrane. So it is having like this. Two or more layer of cells is nothing but compound epithelium. Again, under simple epithelium, it is classified into simple squamous epithelium, simple cuboidal epithelium, and simple columnar epithelium. So mainly simple epithelium again classified into simple squamous epithelium, simple cuboidal epithelium, simple columnar epithelium. And this cuboidal and columnar epithelium, if they have cilia on their body, if they have cilia on their surface, they are called as simple cuboidal ciliated epithelium. They are called as simple cuboidal ciliated epithelium or columnar if they have cilia on their body, not on their body, on their free surface. If this is a cuboidal epithelium, if they have cilia on their surface, free surface, it's called ciliated epithelium. When cuboidal cell is having cilia on their free surface, it is called ciliated cuboidal epithelium. If columnar cell is having cilia on their free surface, it is called ciliated columnar epithelium. Understood? Simple epithelium is nothing but it is having single layer of cells on the basement membrane. It is classified into simple squamous epithelium, simple cuboidal epithelium, and simple columnar epithelium. If the cuboidal cells have air-like structures on their free surface, it is called ciliated cuboidal epithelium. If the columnar cells have air-like structures on their free surface, it is called ciliated columnar epithelium. And some of these cuboidal and columnar epithelial cells are modified for secretion. It is called glandular epithelium. It is called glandular epithelium. And one more, we have pseudo stratified epithelium. Pseudo stratified epithelium. Understood? So in this class we will discuss only about the simple epithelium. Simple squamous epithelium. So this is simple squamous epithelium. This one is basement membrane. All the cells lie above the basement membrane nucleus. So these squamous cells are polygonal in shape with irregular borders. Polygonal shape with irregular borders, centrally situated nucleus. And this squamous cell epithelium is also called as pavement epithelium. Why it is called as pavement epithelium means the cells, arrangement of cells are with a little intercellular space. When the cells in epithelial tissue have very little intercellular space, due to that we see the arrangement of cells like tiles like arrangement. It is called pavement epithelium. That's why the squamous cell is also called as pavement epithelium, due to the arrangement of cells fully packed with a very little intercellular substances. And these cells lie above the basement membrane. Basement membrane is a layer, it is a acellular layer. In this layer we will not see any cells, and this layer is made up of glycoproteins. This basement membrane is made up of glycoprotein. It is acellular layer which is made up of glycoproteins. Above that basement membrane we see the arrangement of cells. This simple squamous epithelium have polygonal shape with centrally situated nucleus and irregular borders, and this epithelium is seen in lining of blood vessels, and in alveoli, etc. And in lining of blood vessels and in alveoli, etc. Main function is diffusion of substance. Main function is diffusion of substances. Suppose this is a alveoli. This alveoli is lined by simple squamous epithelium. And this blood capillaries is also lined by simple squamous epithelium. This thin layer of epithelium helps in faster diffusion of gases. Oxygen enters into capillaries and carbon dioxide enters into alveoli. Understood? This thin layer of squamous epithelium present in the alveoli and in the blood vessels helps in faster diffusion of gases. That's why its main function is diffusion of substances. So this is about squamous epithelium. Understood? They may ask for 2 marks. That time you should draw the diagram. Basement membrane and write the nucleus, polygonal cells. Label it as polygonal cells. Then write where they are going to present? They are present as a lining of blood vessels and in alveoli, and their main function is diffusion. Understood? This is about squamous epithelium. Then we will move with squamous cuboidal epithelium. Here also we see the basement membrane. This is basement membrane. Above that we see tube-like cells which are equal in width and length with round centrally situated nucleus. This is basement membrane. So, round nucleus. Round nucleus. This is basement membrane. Tube-like cells with almost equal in width and length. That's why it got a name, simple cuboidal epithelium. And these cuboidal epithelium are present in ducts and in ducts of salivary glands. They are present in ducts of salivary glands and in tubular parts of nephrons. Tubular parts of nephrons. Main function is secretion and absorption. Main function is secretion and absorption. Understood? So, simple cuboidal epithelium, they will have tube-like cells lie above the basement membrane with centrally situated round nucleus. They are going to find in salivary ducts of salivary glands and in tubular parts of nephrons. Main function of this epithelium is secretion like mucus, and also it helps in absorption of substances. So, the main function is secretion and absorption. So, this is about simple cuboidal epithelium. Then we will move with simple columnar epithelium. As the name itself tells that the cells are column-like. So, like this is the basement membrane. Oval shaped nucleus is present towards the base. Oval shaped nucleus is present towards the base. And see, these cells are narrow towards the basement membrane and broad at their free surface. So, the columnar epithelium, the cells are column-like. They are broader at their free surface and narrow towards the basement membrane, and oval shaped nucleus is present towards the basement membrane. These cells we see in the stomach and in intestine. And main function is secretion and absorption. Understood? Simple columnar epithelium. They have column-like cells. The base is narrow when compared to the free surface. Free surface is broader. They have oval shaped nucleus towards the basement membrane. They are mainly seen in stomach and in the intestine, and their main function is secretion and absorption. Secretion and absorption. This is about columnar epithelium. Again, they will ask for 2 marks, write about draw a structure of cuboidal epithelium and write their function, and draw a structure of columnar epithelium, write their function, like that, and together 3, they may ask for 3 marks also. And when these columnar cells here we see the villi, finger-like projections on their free surface is called villi. Columnar cells, when they have finger-like projections, cytoplasmic projections on their free surface is called villi. Again, villi undergo the projections, it is called microvilli. So, when we see these finger-like projections or cytoplasmic projections on the free surface, then that is called microvilli or microvilli. Mainly that helps in increases surface area for absorption. Understood? Why we see this modification in the columnar epithelium means this villi and microvilli mainly increases surface area for absorption. Suppose this is a intestine, small intestine. Here we see this epithelial tissue. To measure this length, we need this much of thread only. This is a thread. To measure this length, ಇಷ್ಟನ್ನ measure ಮಾಡಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ನಮಗೆ ಇಷ್ಟೇ ದಾರ ಸಾಕು. This much of thread is enough. If this length is modified like this, see, to measure this one, we need this much or we need more thread. We need more thread. So, like this, the modifications on the free surface increases absorption. It increases area, surface area for absorption. In the small intestine, these villi and microvilli mainly helps in absorption of digested food. This, by increasing surface area, these villi and microvilli in the small intestine mainly helps in absorption of digested food. So, that's the benefit we get by this modification of this columnar epithelium. So, this 1 mark question, what is the function of microvilli? Microvilli and villi increases surface area for absorption. Understood? And one more modifications we see. A-like structures on their free surface. So, this is a columnar epithelium. If they have A-like structure, and even on cuboidal epithelium we see, this is called cilia. It is called cilia. Then we ciliated columnar epithelium, ciliated cuboidal epithelium. So, this cilia always moves in one direction. Cilia moves in one direction. It moves in one direction. And this ciliated epithelium is seen in hollow tubules like bronchioles and in fallopian tube. Ciliated epithelium are seen in bronchioles and in fallopian tubes. In the bronchioles and in trachea, when the cilia are present, like this cilia. So that cilia in the trachea and in the bronchioles, it pushes the dust particles towards the nasal cavity, or it pushes the mucosa towards the nasal cavity. That's the function of ciliated epithelium in bronchioles and in the trachea. And fallopian tubes. In the fallopian tube, this is a uterus. Ovary releases ovum, and this fallopian tube is having ciliated epithelium. Fallopian tube is having ciliated epithelium. This cilia moves the ovum towards the fallopian tube. This is fallopian tube. Understood? So, why the ovum should push towards the fallopian tube means here the fertilization takes place. When sperm enters, they reach the fallopian tube, and it is the part where fertilization takes place. So, the ovum which is released by the ovary should reach the fallopian tube. That function is carried by ciliated epithelium lining the fallopian tubes. The cilia moves the ovum towards the fallopian tube. Understood? So, this is infundibulum. In the next second year, you are going to learn the part of this fallopian tube. Here the isthmus junction. It is isthmus junction. So, even just the cilia will push the ovum towards the isthmus in the fallopian tube where the fertilization takes place. That cilia helps to move the ovum towards the fertilization area, that is isthmus region in the fallopian tube. So, that is the function of ciliated epithelium. So, it lies the bronchioles, but also it lies in fallopian tube. That's about the ciliated epithelium. And some of the cells are modified for secretion. That cells are called glandular cells. That cells are called glandular cells. Glandular cells called glandular cells, and the cells which are present in epithelium are called glandular epithelium. So, in the glandular epithelium, again we have two types: unicellular glandular epithelium and multicellular glandular epithelium. For example, unicellular goblet cells, multicellular glandular epithelium is cells in salivary glands. Understood? So, unicellular, see this is a epithelium. In this, if one cell modified for secretion, that is called unicellular glandular epithelium. Uni means single cell. When these are all epithelial cells. In these epithelial cells, in between any one cell modifies, it secretes mucosa or enzymes or saliva, then it is called glandular epithelial. So, if one cell secretes, then it is unicellular epithelium. Unicellular glandular epithelium, example goblet cells seen in the lining of stomach or in the gastrointestinal tract, where it really secretes mucus, goblet cell secretes mucus. It secretes mucus that helps in lubrication of food. When epithelium, many cells of the epithelium will modify for secretion. When all the cells or many cells of epithelium modified for secretion, that is called multicellular glandular epithelium. Example, cells in salivary glands where all the cells secretes saliva, all the cells secrete saliva. That means the epithelial cells, all the epithelial cells in salivary gland are modified for the secretion of saliva. That is an example for multicellular glandular epithelium. We can discuss this in detail about unicellular and multicellular in our next class. Then one thing we left is pseudostratified epithelium. Pseudostratified epithelium. As the name tells that pseudo means false. Pseudo means false. Stratified under many layers. This simple epithelium looks like stratified due to the variation in the length of the cell. Due to the variation in the length of the cell. So, like this, shorter length of the cell varies. Some cells will have longer length, some cells will have shorter length, where the nucleus position is going to be changed. The shorter cells have round nucleus and longer cells have oval nucleus. This nucleus arrangement will depict like stratified. Different layer, namagena ansute, this presence of nucleus in the shorter cells and longer cells will appear like many layer. That's why it is pseudo stratified, but it is a single layer only. It is a single layer only, but due to the variation in the length of the cell, the position of nucleus is also going to be changed. That appear like stratified. Stratified antandre many layer. Understood? So pseudo means false. Because why it is false? Because it is a single layer only. The cells arranged on basement membrane in a single layer only, but it looks like many layer due to the variation in length and position of nucleus in that cells. That's why it is called pseudo stratified epithelium. It is mainly seen in salivary glands and also in the nasal cavity. Again, we have two types: pseudo stratified columnar epithelium. Pseudo stratified columnar epithelium seen in ducts of salivary glands and in olfactory mucosa. Pseudo stratified columnar epithelium is seen in ducts of salivary glands and in olfactory mucosa. Pseudo stratified ciliated. Pseudo stratified ciliated columnar epithelium is seen in nasal cavity. Is seen in nasal cavity. Pseudo stratified ciliated columnar epithelium is seen in nasal cavity. Understood? Where that cilia traps the dust particles. So this is about simple epithelium. So epithelial tissue is classified based on the layer, simple epithelium and compound epithelium. Compound epithelium is also called stratified epithelium. Simple epithelium means where we see the single layer of arrangement of cells on the basement membrane. Whereas in compound epithelium or in stratified epithelium, many layers of cells are arranged above the basement membrane. Coming to the simple epithelium, again it is classified into simple squamous epithelium, simple columnar epithelium, simple cuboidal epithelium. Simple squamous epithelium will have polygonal shaped cells with centrally situated nucleus with irregular borders. This epithelium is seen in the lining of blood vessels and in the alveoli. Main function is diffusion. Where simple cuboidal epithelium, we see cube-like cells which almost equal in width and length. Centrally situated round nucleus is present. They lie on the base, cells lie on the basement membrane. These are seen in the ducts of salivary glands and in tubular parts of nephron. Again, main function is secretion and absorption. And simple columnar epithelium, where we see column-like cells. The cells are narrow towards the basement membrane and they are broad towards their free surface. And these cells lie in the intestine and in the stomach. Main function is secretion and absorption. The modification of these cells, the cytoplasmic projections on their free surface are called villi and microvilli, which increases surface area for the absorption. When the columnar epithelium and cuboidal epithelium have A-like structures called cilia on their free surface, then we call it as ciliated cuboidal epithelium and ciliated columnar epithelium. And these epithelium are we find in bronchioles and in fallopian tubules, where in bronchioles it pushes the mucosa towards the nasal cavity or dust towards the nasal cavity. Whereas in fallopian tube, the cilia helps to move the ovum towards the isthmus part of fallopian tube where the fertilization occurs. Then coming to the glandular epithelium. So, when these cells are modified for secretion, then that epithelial cells are called, that epithelium is called glandular epithelium. Again, there are two types of glandular epithelium, unicellular and multicellular. If in between the epithelial cells, when one cell modified for secretion, then it is called unicellular glandular epithelium. If many cells modified for secretion, then it is called multicellular glandular epithelium. Then pseudostratified epithelium. So, here the cells are single layer cells only which lie on the basement membrane, but due to their vary in their length, the cells vary in their length. The shorter cells will have round nucleus and longer cells will have oval nucleus, and the arrangement of nucleus depicts us that many layers are present, but actually there is only one layer which lie on the basement membrane. That type of epithelium is called pseudostratified epithelium. So, pseudostratified columnar epithelium is seen in ducts of salivary glands and in olfactory mucosa. Pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium is seen in nasal cavity. Understood? So, in the next class we will discuss about again the glandular epithelium and about compound epithelium. Understood? Practice the diagrams properly. You may get explain the and classify and explain the simple epithelium. That time you have to draw the diagram and you have to explain. Thank you.